Welcome, dirty peasants, to episode 88 of Wartwood Gazette, the Amphibia podcast. This week we'll be discussing or having our bit of a character analysis of Sasha. I'm your host, Limbaticon, and join me today we have Impact.
Hey, what's good, everybody?
All right, thanks for coming on tonight, Impact. It's been quite some time since our last recording. I'll try and get this one
Yeah,
out as soon as I can.
yeah, like 3 months. Long, long time.
Yeah, and I uploaded in early December, so I guess whoever was listening, it's been about 2 months. I haven't checked the analytics in a while because I know I checked back in like January and I did notice there was still like the normal amount of like listeners listening to like past recordings. But I think that's just because.
Yeah, and I have.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, I haven't gotten any like ask about it in a while, like on my Tumblr, because sometimes here and there I would get like ask about the Gazette specifically. Like sometimes like I think it was like one question about like fandom's perception of Sasha and whatnot. So I haven't gotten that in a little while. So I don't know. Like I haven't checked the viewership for. I mean, I don't have the analytics, so I wouldn't know like up and downs. But I haven't checked the channel's views in a while. So
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably take a look later tonight. But for news, these past couple of months, the most significant one was that Matt on a live stream revealed the cover of the Art Amphibia book that's going to be coming out. Not sure when, but if there's a cover
it
for it,
will be happening.
yes. And that's going to be exciting. I know the crew has always posted a lot of art and concept art on Twitter, like over the years, and I'm sure the art book might not have all of it, but it'll be nice to have like a lot of it, at least compiled in one convenient spot. And I know Nano Polga has his that's a fan. He's like compiled all this stuff in a Google Drive somewhere, but it's nice to have something like a physical copy. Um, that's it.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
and like in general, like it gives us a chance to get some behind the scenes stuff that like we just didn't get. Like I think like for I don't know. I'm just interested to see like maybe some like prototype ideas. Like even like small things. Like I remember when Matt showed like the pitch for like All In. Like the Darcy fight had like Sasha and like her old design, but like Marcy is like clearly in like the same design she had like not the same design. Like the Darcy design is like finalized, but Sasha's isn't. I wonder if like we're gonna get like stuff like that. I don't know. Just like a thought of like behind the scenes stuff or like I remember there was like some old Darcy designs that was shown before if we'll get more of that or like more season 2 stuff or season 1 junk that never got in. I'm excited to see where that goes. And like also I thought like we were gonna get like when Matt did that poll, I thought we were gonna like I think the comic one and not like the art book. So I assumed we were gonna get a comic instead of that, which I was like super scared by, but thankfully Matt, had reason and just did the art book instead. So that's a W. So yeah.
Yeah, I was team art book for that. Um,
Yeah. And he drew it all suddenly out of nowhere. Like he gave us no time to think. Like he just drew it at us, and then we just had to like the whole fandom like kind of just reacted because like the reactive thing is like, oh yeah, like more content, comic, like, but like the logical like end game like, oh like if we're gonna get final content of the show, like we need an art book, like you know what I mean, like. So I'm glad like the poll didn't mean jack shit. We got an art book anyway. So I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. Like, just to have that in my bookshelf. Hopefully, like, you know how like some art books are like those really big squares, like those
Yeah.
big square shapes. Like, I'm hoping it at least fits in my bookshelf, but we'll see. I wouldn't mind having a grand sized hardcover for this show.
Be down for that. Right next to Marcy's journal, but like probably much bigger, hopefully. So
Yeah. And that's about all the news we've got. And I guess we can go into the topic of today's recording, Sasha. Uh, Eventually we will cover multiple characters. This is episode 88. If you haven't heard it before, I'll say it again. Like we'll wrap up the podcast at 100, so we'll find a way to stretch this out to the end. uh, but yeah, this recording, this is just going to be our general thoughts on the characters. Hopefully, because in the past when we discuss these characters, we'll discuss them for like 10 minutes in a 2 hour recording. At least having this kind of talk in a 30-minute recording might be a bit more digestible. So we'll see how it goes. So starting with Sasha, I kind of just wanted to start with season one, and then eventually we'll get into season two and three. I thought Sasha in season one was a very refreshing uh, subversion of the mean girl stereotype that you kind of see in a lot of media.
ooh.
Just because, like, when we first like see her in like Prison Break, you kind of, I don't want to say like she was just a mean girl, because there are like little bits and pieces in like Prison Break where she's a lot more like there's like hints in Prison Break where she seems like more complex than the segment leads on, and then once you get to reunion, that's kind of when you see how complicated this relationship is with Anne, and then eventually Marcy. And I just think
Yeah.
it was a really, that's what made the character like very interesting. And I should
Huh.
I'll hold off from now. Like, I guess Impact. What were your thoughts on Sasha in season one?
I'll bounce off what you said in a second, but for now, like my thoughts of Sasha were always like so like before we even meet Sasha, we already kind of know like from episode one that like Anne's relationship with her friends is kind of bad, and I mean kind of I mean really bad. They're like robbing stores and stuff, and like pressuring her to do things she doesn't want to do. So already like Sasha's kind of exciting because like to me, I'm like, oh, okay, if I know more about Sasha, I kind of know a little bit more about Anne. And in Prison Break, it does like such a good job of like already giving you like nuance to the character. Like Sasha is clearly like manipulative and like controlling Toad Tower, but she's not like using like verbal force to do it. She's using a lot of like clever manipulation and like trying to know the toads personally in order to use them to her benefit. And like she teaches Grime this too, because Grime is like a big part of Sasha's arc too. And like he is like god awful at like leading Toad Tower. He's just telling people like you guys are idiots and dumb and stupid. He's like being like mad toxic. And then like and then Sasha kind of slowly teaches him like legitimate ways to like lead people and have them listen to you, but like which is like a good thing in the sense of like oh like actually complimenting people and seeing people's strengths and helping them out is like a good thing. But the complexity there is that like Sasha's not doing it for their benefit. She's not doing it to help out the Toads or to actually like be a legitimately good person and do it for good. She's doing it for herself to like get out of Toad Tower, to not have to deal with any of this like crap with grime and whatnot and find a way out. She's doing it selfishly, but her skills are clearly good. And then you see that like complexity happen with Anne later, right? Where now like in Reunion we see like the benefit Anne's relationship has with Sasha. Sasha has like social control over the school. She has this ability to like tell like what's her name? Maggie, right? Yeah. To like fuck off and get out of here without like directly saying it. Like she doesn't like verbally push her down, but rather she uses like social leverage to get Maggie like out of there, right? Like she has this ability to legitimately help people and see their strengths and gifts, but like and see or like help out Anne, but because she's doing it for her own benefit, in this case, like Sasha is helping out Anne, not to actually give Anne a hand, but more so to maintain the idea of the friendship. And as soon as Anne like starts speaking for herself and saying no to Sasha, Sasha's immediately like, no, no, you got to stay back in your place. Like, you don't make your own decisions. I tell you what to do. End of discussion, right? So already, like, season one is giving us like a lot to the character, and in a short amount of time too. Amphibia is really good with that, where it gives you like a lot of info about a character quickly, but such a condensed way that I'm never like I feel like it's like telling me a bunch of shit in like 1 second. It feels more like it does a lot of things, but like it does a lot of impactful things that are like condensed together to feel strong. So to me, like Sasha's a great example of that in the show, which is why I'm never like upset about her screen time in like season one, because you're given so much info about her through Anne and then Prison Break and then the Toads and then Reunion that like I think you already have like a really compelling motivation of a character. And I think it gets more interesting when we get later on in the show. But yeah, like Sasha's like already season one, there you're getting a lot out of her, and she's already like a compelling villain to Anne too. That's also a big thing as well. She's not just a compelling character; she's like this nice, like natural point in Anne's story too, where she gets to be like, what's the word? Like she gets to be like a natural opposite to Anne's growth in the show. Well, like Anne has learned to like think of the frogs as like people and like understand the consequences of her actions. Sasha hasn't, and that plays a part later in season three, and I'll get to that there. But yeah, like season one, Sasha, really good character, really good villain, and like again, short amount of time, they do a lot of shit with it. That's what I love about Amphibia. So yeah,
And yeah, like thank you, Impact, for that. And I really like how Sasha really like in some ways Sasha does become part like she does become part of Amphibia similarly but very differently from Anne in terms of the environments they were like dropped in. Like and I like how you mentioned like how like she has like these like this control over the toads even while she's in like the cell. So what she's doing is like kind of like is a positive thing for her own benefit.
yeah,
So that's what kind of makes like Prison Break very like nuanced. And then when you get to Reunion, and then you see her interacting with Anne in the flashback, when she does do like the end of discussion kind of thing, then you're like, oh, like this is like now you see like the
yeah,
other side of that kind of control.
yeah, and like and I think like the cool thing too with that is like how like Sasha is like not evil. I think that's the cool thing about Sasha is that like she's not doing this because Anne's like she's not like a one dimensional like Anne's dumb and I'm smarter than her or like or something like that where like Sasha's just like a bitch to be a bitch. Like no, like she's being like controlling of Anne because of how the dynamic of the friendship has worked in the past. Because remember, like we've learned through season one that Anne is kind of like doesn't really take responsibility of her actions a lot of the time, doesn't really like to take charge of things, only follows what Sasha has to say. So like we know that like we understand who Anne was in the past and how she's growing. But Sasha, what's cool about this is that she doesn't know this. She hasn't been with Anne this whole time. She hasn't seen how she's changed. And so now when that dynamic of the relationship changes, it creates a lot of chaos. Like and even Anne recognizes this like later in the journal. Oh, honestly in the show itself. But I think the journal makes it more clear during her time with VA and stuff when she's thinking about it where like that dynamic of Anne always relying on Sasha and Sasha's own like really great skill sets create like already a lot of complexity with the trio. So like I don't know, there's something interesting about how like in a way like knowing who Anne was and how she's changing, but off like without Sasha being there adds conflict to the story. Like and I can even talk about that with Marcy when we get all the way there later. But like it's it's just interesting how like a lot of the conflict of Amphibia is based on the girls not being with each other and not seeing how they're changing. And so inadvertently, like when they do meet, it feels more or less like just two characters meeting, but like almost two worlds colliding and how like those differences like create conflict in the world itself. And like here in this case, it's like with the frogs and toads, right? Sasha's been with the toads for a long time. Anne's been with the frogs, and their like own like ideas of amphibia are based around those like civilizations they've been in. So it's interesting, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, the worlds colliding thing definitely happens in Reunion, and I like I know Sasha isn't like Sasha is like a character with like layers, but it does feel like at least for season two for me, she kind of regresses.
Ooh.
Like I get like, but that's kind of like the point of her character, where like after reunion, she kind of sets her mind on just like she does kind of have like that kind of vibe where she just thinks Anne is wrong and like she's right, and then just completely
Yeah.
commits to like overthrowing the monarchy and then of course like
Yeah. Yeah.
once we get to like her reunion with Anne and Marcy, then like that kind of shifts a bit. But yeah, there's a lot of like a lot of season two feels like she's going down this path. She kind of knows she is feeling the like guilt or like hesitation when she like kind of looks back at like what she's like giving up, like Percy and Braddock, but kind of just stubbornly.
Thumb. I can't. Hold on. Wait. I can't hear you right now. Wait a second. Hold on.
Can you hear me now?
RGU, can you hear him? Or because he just cut out for me. I can't hear him right
Okay, RGU can hear
now.
me.
Okay, hold on. That's on my end. Wait a second.
All right. While Impact fixes that, maybe I can start talking about Quarler's Pass and how he was so focused on Toadcatcher at the time, and I insisted Quarler's Pass was a critical
Uh,
episode. And then you know what we got in season three? We got Almtown Road, and then Nick, myself, bullied this man relentlessly.
I
Rel-
can't. I didn't hear a lot of what you just said. I was trying to tell you. I didn't hear what you said for like. I'm sorry. Something happened on my end. I didn't hear what you said about season 2 and then Almtown Road. I didn't hear that part.
Wait, so you heard Hometown Road?
I heard what you just said. You said Almtown Road,
Oh,
and
so
then I didn't
wait,
hear
so
like.
so you can hear me now, right?
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay,
now. I
wonderful.
was trying to tell you I couldn't hear you.
Okay, so I'll restart. But basically, once I found out you couldn't hear me, I was just telling the audience about the significance of Quarler's Pass and how you and how we bullied you relentlessly when Old Town Road came
That
out.
episode still sucks. That episode still sucks. I don't care what anyone.
you're
It still
you're
sucks.
lucky you're the only guest on here today because I.
It still does. It still does suck. Like just because it's relevant, like later on, doesn't mean it doesn't suck. Like you could have a whole episode of Anne like staring at the screen saying like the core is important and change every 2 minutes, and like that would be important. But like it wouldn't be a good episode. Like nah, Coolest Pass still sucks.
So
I still firmly believe this.
okay, but so anyways, I was just mentioning how for season two, Sasha kind of goes down this. She kind of she's very stubborn about going down the path she had or the path she was on, where she kind of like Grime kind of spells it out for her how like she's lost control of Anne, and then instead of accepting that, she tries to like take that out on this quest to overthrow Andreas just so she can somehow have leverage to like at least for season one, she kind of had a plan where she's like, okay, get to the top of the food chain and then find a way home.
Yeah.
Season two, like it is the same goal she had in season one, but she feels much more like scattershot about it. Not
Yeah, I think that's like a I think that's a fun thing about the character in season 2 because she's a lot more reactive. Sasha feels a little bit less like I feel like season 1 Sasha is a lot more of a schemer than season 2 Sasha. Like I feel like season 2 Sasha is a lot more like and fucking like didn't listen to me. I'm gonna take power over everything and the friendship. Like she she's kind of a lot more like reactive and impulsive in season 2 and less like strategical. Like even in Bale's Warhammer, she's kind of like once things don't go her way, she just starts beating the shit out of some toads and then yelling at like I forget their names. Beatrix and
Aldo.
Labufo. I
Aldo
think
and
Aldo.
I forgot the other guy.
No, I said I forget his name too. But anyway, like yelling at them, like, hey yo, like listen to our plan, idiots. What's gonna make you guys listen? Like, there's no strategy. Like Sasha's not like trying to like figure them out or like trying to like or anything. She's just like yelling at them to listen at that point. So I don't know. I like that version of the character though. I think it's like Sasha's kind of low point a little bit, where like the character gets his chance to like be a little more like offer game, offer element a bit. I think that's fun. I think that like adds a lot of like complexity to the friendship. And I also think then genuinely Sasha is also like a kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's gonna be like well not even she's just a kid. She's she's human and like she's gonna be like emotionally immature about it. So like instead of Sasha taking like the fight with Anne and being like, "Oh man, I was a jerk. I was mean to Anne." I should have like respected her frog family and like heard her out. Instead, it's more like, oh, Anne didn't listen. I need to take more control of this friendship. In order to do that, I'm gonna take over Amphibia. Yeah. Like, again, very like impulsive and reactive, but I like that part of the character. Like, I don't think Sasha like always has to be like super calculating and like always having a plan. She's not like a Zula, right? You know what I mean? Like in that sense, she's a lot more like Sasha's good at manipulation, but she's also very like what's the word? Like she's also very human. So I always liked this middle section of the character. It's fun. And also Grime is great in season 2 as well. Like his whole like relationship with Sasha, like with Grime being a little more I think Pickle mentioned this, where Grime was a little more like schemer-y in season 2 than in 1. Because in 1 he's kind of just like shitty at his job. And in season 2, he's the one to make the plan about taking over Amphibia. He's the one who like actively wants to commit to it. And even like and this kind of adds some like depth to their characters later in season 3. So I don't know. I always really like this like reactive, like not honor a game version of Sasha. And I like how much Anne ties into it too. Like I don't know. I just think like Sasha and Anne's like whole dynamic is really fun. And the way they like I'll wait till season 3 for that. But like it I like how Sasha like how much Sasha's important to Anne's character arc, but how important Anne is to Sasha's character arc too. Like how this one like change in the relationship like fundamentally changes Sasha as like a person like forever. How Anna's growth as a person is changing so much of the dynamic of the friendship. So yeah.
Yeah, and for that first half of season 2, Sasha's much more, or for a lot of season 2, she's like at her low point, very impulsive. But yeah, like you said, like once they reunite, once Sasha reunites with Anne again in season 2, she does. It feels like her character does go back into that manipulative, more schemer role instead of more like aggressive, which I liked,
Hmm.
because like, it's kind of like going back to like the season 1 Sasha, where she's kind of a bit. When she's with Anne again, she doesn't want to mess things up while she plans to mess things up. So
Yeah, I think what's cool about Sasha there is that like Sasha's like emotions are very real. Like when she's like trying to make friends with Anne, she's both trying to trick Anne and she's also trying to like actually befriend Anne. She wants to build this better relationship with Anne, but she's not growing individually as a person to actually make that happen. Like a good example is like in Third Temple, right? When like Sasha is like trying to make amends and she apologizes, but like that apology is just done to make like is both done like okay, the apology there is like done to both manipulate Anne, but also Sasha does mean it to a certain extent emotionally, right? She does kind of believe in what she's saying, but she does not want to take like the responsible action and like taking responsibility of her actions and like understanding that Anne doesn't have to forgive her because she apologized. You know what I mean? Like when like she's like in the Third Temple, she's like, "Oh, why don't you trust me? I apologize and everything." And like she assumes she'll get something because she apologized. That like Anne will just agree if she apologizes, and that's it. The apology is another form of manipulation because she's trying to get power over Anne through it. She's not like asking honestly about it. Not she's not being honest about the apology and then taking actions to show she's actually sorry. Like like you know what I mean? Like there's like the character emotionally wants to apologize but does not have the maturity to actually do it, so she's actually manipulating Anne So it's like, I don't know, like that moment right there in Third Temple is already really complex. And then you combine that with like Battle of the Bands and the dinner, and it gets like even more chaotic from there. So
Yeah, I agree to all of that. Like, and it all kind of like blows up in true colors, and I guess we can talk about the true color stuff and season three together because it kind of.
ties
Mhm.
turning True Colors and Turning Point kind of feel like they they're kind of like Turning Point feels like almost like part two to TC a little bit. So um
Yeah,
something you want to go
yeah,
or
sure thing. Like, cause I know, yeah, like Turning Point does take place like immediately after True Colors, and I'm trying because I know the the Sasha we see in Turning Point is very different from the one we see in Commander Anne.
yeah, for sure. Um
I do
I
think,
think like you go.
oh, okay, like for the sake of the show, I understand why Sasha needed to reach that point, and I kind of suspected that would be the case, like back when 3A was airing, that Anne would come back and see Sasha as a bit of a different person and having to
Mhm.
cope with that. Not cope with that, just like kind of like acknowledge that. And because of all the other conflicts that were going on when Anne got back there, I don't want to focus on the like Sasha's redemption arc stuff was rushed just because I know it's been
Ooh,
discussed.
okay.
Unless you want to talk about it, it's fine. Um,
I do actually
okay, okay.
a little bit.
Yeah, then yeah, go ahead. In fact, just so that'll give me
Oh,
time to think.
okay. So I perfectly get if you think Sasha like in Turning Point was like that moment was rushed. I don't think Sasha's redemption arc is rushed though. I don't agree with that. I think I think a lot of times with Sasha's character, like what happens is that like a lot of people assume Sasha's arc, like redemption arc, is like at Turning Point and not it doesn't end at the end of the show.
Hmm.
Because ultimately, like I, I could talk about the Darcy fight for like a long time, but I'll try not to do that too much here. But I will say that like Sasha's entire character flaw throughout this show has been about power, right? It's about like it has been about Sasha wanting power and control over this relationship. And that's something like Sasha realizes in Turning Point. And I will agree that's a little quick, a little bit, right? Like that section like in Turning Point like was a little like fast. I think if you watch like Turning Point kind like Amphibia all at once, it's not that bad. And RGU like just mentioned that in the chat just now. Like, yeah, like if you watch it, if you just stream Amphibia, you probably won't even know what I'm talking about. Turning Point seems rushed. A lot of people don't even know what I'm like talking about. The Turning Point seems a little quick. Um, like like I think that element is a little fast, but the character's redemption arc, I don't agree is quick. Like Sasha's like character flaw only really gets fixed at the end of the show with the Darcy fight and forgiving Marcy. Like, I'll wait a little bit till we get to that, but like, I don't know. I don't agree with that. I could agree with someone thinking Turning Point's too quick. Do I think Sasha's redemption arc is too fast? That's horseshit because her character flaw isn't even been resolved yet. Like, like, I'll wait a second when we get there, but like, I don't know. I high key disagree. I feel like saying Sasha's redemption arc only like happens at Turning Point misses the whole point of the character. I think it misses a lot of nuance of Sasha where you only think of Sasha as like about power and control, but it misses like the real core flaw of the character, which is like Sasha learning to change her perception of the past of this relationship, of who Anne is and who Marcy is. Because kind of throughout the story, like Sasha has been like using her skills to maintain the past dynamic of the relationship. And a lot of Sasha's character arc in like the dinner and Battle of the Bands and in like beginning of the end has been a lot of more about changing her perception of the past of this relationship and not letting that past dynamic with Anne or with Marcy define the present of it. While the character is about control and turning point, there's a lot more of a nuanced version of the character that kind of gets more criticized in 3B and mainly in the finale. So saying that Sasha's character arc like is rushed, like because if you think what am I trying to say? Like saying that Sasha's redemption arc is rushed at turning point, I think lacks nuance of the character's core flaw, like, and a lot of the themes of the story too. So, like, I don't know. I don't agree with that. Like, so yeah, that's it.
Thank you,
Just for
fact.
right now.
Yeah, like yeah, the moment for turning point I did feel was a little bit like the realization that Sasha has, I feel like was a little too
Quick.
cheesy. Yeah, and quick.
Yeah.
It was a little too cheesy for me, but like I kind of it was fine. Like I'm not gonna dwell on it too long. I think my biggest issue with with season three Sasha was her character design because I think someone pointed out it's like our reintroduction to Sasha is, oh, I've changed my ways. Look at me decked out in all this like hair and imagery, the thing that fucking murdered Sprig and Polly's parents. Anyways, we're using your ancestral home as our base camp, and
Okay, well, all right.
and Hop Hop, don't look at your room because Grimes been sleeping there.
All right. Well,
No,
who
no,
are these supposed to
no, no,
use?
no, no,
Like,
I'm just joking. I'm just joking about that part. But like,
yeah.
this is okay. Are we going to talk about character? Actually, yeah, we should talk about character design for these character
Yeah.
analysis.
Yeah.
Sasha, okay. Sasha from season one was a great look on how like Anne still had her old out like school uniform. Sasha was immediately kind of immersed in this world and kind of shedded away her old look, and had the very like militaristic outfit. Season two, like very briefly at the start, has her kind of like lose a bit of the armor because she's like on the run and stuff, so which is great. And then season three is kind
Yeah.
of like, barbarian, like okay, see how for season one and two, like I could kind of explain what was going on, like, and then later on season two where she like joins the Toad, when she gets the Toad army's like backing, she's like back in like a more like reddish, brighter, cleaned up armor.
Yeah.
Then season three, she's got
She's got
the one hand glove, claw glove. Like, okay, it's a little like
he
flashy,
looks like
like,
an action figure.
yeah.
Like
Like, introducing the Sasha Barbarian toy, now available at Toys R Us this winter. Like, and it's like
he does.
how like the 2012 TMNT show, how like the toy manufacturer like Playmates, they're like every time the turtles got like some new outfit like later on the show, like Playmates was just selling that shit, like, yo, we got like Leonardo in a spacesuit, like. And we know like Amphibia doesn't have like a toy line, so it's like having Sasha, like, it's a fun design, it's just like kind of it's kind of over the top, not over the top. Like it's still a
I
fun
don't know.
it's still a fun design change, and it's nice to show like, of course, it's to show like her new self, and
Yeah,
how it's like much
yeah.
more
I
like
think
wild and like free.
I didn't even think the free part. I guess the hair coming down is like a little more like that. I don't know. Like I always got like I've always liked the new design for Sasha. Like I like that her hair is like a lot bigger than before. It shows that time has passed. I don't know how much time because Rhea is a little vague with how much time has passed, but like enough so then like Sasha has to get like new armor and shit, and like she's got like some more red and blues in her like she has some more blues in her like clothing now, which is cool. Um, I think she looks better with the dual swords here than she does with her like season 2 armor. Like
Yes.
this feels like the complete set. Like her having both swords now. Um, and I mean, like season three's Sasha's season 3 design is like kind of how I always think about the character now at this point. Like, I can't quite pinpoint why. It's just that like I don't know. I don't really have like a super detailed thought on Sasha's design. I'm just like it looks good. Like like her hair kind of looks like it has like McDonald's arches like on her forehead a little bit, but like other than that, like I like it. I like what they did with the character. I like that she looks like really different, but she still looks like Sasha. She just looks like a battle hardened Sasha that's fought for a long time. Like, and I like that. Like, it makes this version of Amphibia have to be a lot more like feel a lot bigger, I guess. Yeah, I'll go with that. So yeah, I don't know. So good design. The hair and stuff was kind of funny though. Like and like I mean like with the house, it's like that's the I'm pretty sure that's the only place they could literally like be at in Amphibia without like Andrus just like finding a robot and just like killing them. So they have to be at the house. Like though I do think one thing though is that like the helmet just goes away. Like after Commander Anne, like she doesn't have the like hair and tiara like in Commander Anne. She just has the helmet, and then like once Spivey shows up, it's just over. It's out. Like it never comes back again, which I'm fine with because the helmet was like a plot beat in that episode, but like she doesn't really need it anymore, and it just kind of gets in the way. Like literally, that's one of the jokes. Like the helmet keeps coming up and down. Like it doesn't like fully work. So like I don't know, like it's over the top, but I like it. Like I like Sasha being a little like I mean like Marcy's like design in season 3 is over the top too. Like she has like a fucking like giant like black helmet on her head and like a big scythe or whatever. Like I think Sasha and Marcy are both like super duper over the top with their designs. I kind of like it though. It makes Anne look a little weird because she doesn't have anything. But I think that might be the point, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It works.
This has kind of gone longer than I thought, but I think that's fine because I think we should still talk about the finale stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we kind of covered Commander Anne stuff, and you kind of touched on the finale, like all in stuff. Yeah, by the end.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say like I think they do like I think like I was talking about this with Sasha's redemption arc, but like just trying to get to this here, like I think they do a really good job of like even though Sasha and Marcy haven't had a lot of like screen time, it's kind of nuts how like Sasha's forgiveness of Marcy is like this big character beat for her, even though Sasha and Marcy haven't had a lot of like interaction with each other. Because like throughout the whole story, right? Like Sasha has kind of been stuck in this like past dynamic of the relationship. Like you see this in the dinner, right? Where she's like nostalgic about like them messing around in school, but not realizing like Anne got in trouble or Marcy got in trouble or like they actually had a hard time with this stuff or how bad of a friend she was. Sasha, like throughout the story, has always been stuck in like the past of their relationship or who Anne used to be. That's a big conflict in reunion too, right? Like it's not just Sasha wants power, it's Sasha like cannot think of Anne beyond for how she used to be, how this relationship used to be. It's a really big problem where like Sasha is either like trying to Sasha can't get out of like is stuck in the past of this relationship. And like this comes back to bite her later in 3B, right? She feels guilty over her actions, feels she always needs to prove to Anne that she's changed or grown. She's afraid of this relationship like going back to how it was. So like I really think there was something cool about how at the end of the story, Sasha now has to choose to forgive Marcy. She has to choose to forgive Marcy for her past actions and her mistakes. It's ultimately her forgiving Marcy completes the character's arc because now it's Sasha like choosing to not let the past of this relationship, the past actions of the girls, define the present of its dynamic and who they are now. And that also means not letting her mistakes and Marcy's mistakes define this relationship. It's kind of like, I don't know, that was like a really cool way of making like Marcy this kind of key to Sasha's arc without even like thinking about it. And then Darcy adds like this great thing too with like naturally being a foil, the core being like a natural foil to Sasha's want for power, like and also being a nice foil to Sasha's want to maintain that past dynamic. You have the core trying to maintain like this old past, like social structure and ideology for years and years, and also wanting power and control over others and um other like planets and such. So like yeah, they did a really good job of like getting of like thinking like critically about the character, I think. Or maybe this is me overthinking, who knows? Maybe Matt didn't intend for this. I'm just overthinking it. But I felt like they did a good job of like giving Sasha like a good final fight. Like Darcy doesn't feel like sloppy seconds. Like I was kind of afraid Darcy would be like compared to Andreas, right? Like Andreas is like set up throughout the story. He's this big deal throughout like season 3 as a whole. So like Sasha not getting a fight like that and Anne is like I was a little scared about that. Or like Sasha and Anne fighting Darcy when Darcy's not like set up enough. But I think they do like or at least like before season 3 came out, that's or like before 3B came out, that was I was a little worried about. But like I think they did a really good job of like naturally making Sasha's arc like getting the core problem with the character down while still like I don't know. I think they do a good job with the finale. There we go. With getting like the core problem of the character down and like even like the outer problem of like wanting power and control. It critiques both of these. And the power and control part is like the more obvious thing. It's like the thing Darcy says out loud, like to Sasha. But the whole thing of like Sasha like not letting the past of this relationship define its present is like kind of like a cool like thing about the theme of the story that connects to the character, but also like works with how the character is established like previously. So I don't know. I always thought the finale did like Sasha a lot of justice, even with like a villain who didn't have as much screen time as Andreas. Darcy still adds like this like, and Marcy both add like this like layer of like completeness to the character. Like that's why I will never agree with you that like Sasha's arc, redemption arc, is rushed because like Sasha's redemption arc only ends when she forgives Marcy. That completes the story. That completes the character's real flaw. Sasha isn't really redeemed until that point. Like, so yeah, I think they do a good job in the finale, kind of handling everything with her. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. In fact, yeah, because the finale does really wrap up the bits and pieces we got in 3B about like Sasha kind of like talking about like trust to like different characters and yeah, it all kind of like comes together when she's kind of forced to deal with Darcy, and then also like she does talk about herself when Darcy kind of like tries to put her down.
Yes.
So yeah, I think
Yeah, she
that all wraps up like very nicely for her character.
yeah, and like again like it working with like Sasha feeling guilty about her past actions, being insecure about doing them again. Her fighting like a foil to all of that is great because it's Sasha like fighting her own insecurities and her own fears throughout the show. Like Sasha has had to now like truly accept that like she was a bad person. She was a shitty friend to Anne and Marcy. She did treat them poorly. And now you have this villain who has this chance to kind of belittle Sasha a bit and like knows the past of this relationship, who can like critique the girls a little more. And I think like that I do think again, like I'm not gonna say I don't want more Darcy screen time, but I felt like the show. I feel like Darcy served her place very well for what for Sasha's character arc and for like the conflict between the girls. And I love that like Sasha fights this battle on her own too. Like Anne's not there to help her. Like this is her fight. This is her character arc reaching a climax. Like Darcy gets to be like this natural like foil to all Sasha has had to learn throughout the story. She's had to learn to stop taking power of the friendship. She's had to learn to like forgive herself for her mistakes. And now she has to learn to forgive Marcy for her actions and her past mistakes. And how that ties everything together with a character who gets to challenge all of that and kind of like a 3-for-1 deal package. So yeah, like I will still say, like, even though Sasha, like, Darcy gets, like, one fight scene, that's a damn good fucking fight scene. And does a lot for the character. So, to me, like, I think impact is, like, kind of the most important thing. So, it all works out.
All right, thank you, Impact. Yeah, and like that, I really don't have much else to say about Sasha. I just really think she was a like with this whole, especially for Anne, like having characters like Sasha and then eventually Marcy. I know you've said before, Impact, like understanding these characters kind of helps get the big picture of what the show's trying to tell you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really hope we see more, at least from Disney. I hope we see more shows where they kind of like have supporting characters that do have friction with the main character and kind of explore on how it's like you can still kind of you can still kind of reconcile the relationship, which will have that same kind of talk with Marcy as well with Anne. I just really like
Yeah.
that kind of dynamic. I hope it's explored more. But
Same. And
that's
I also think, like, I like the show takes it very seriously. Like, the girls' friendship is, like, the top, like, most important thing, like, in Amphibia at the moment. Like, if the girls fuck up, like, in True Colors, yo, Amphibia gets destroyed. There's a whole, like, ancient alien invasion that happens to Earth if the girls don't get their shit together. Like, it's taken very seriously, and I love that. Like, a lot of shows, like, I feel like a lot of times, like, this, like, I feel like most of the times in fiction, maybe this is just my experience, like usually this like seriousness of relationships is done for like romance or like familial relationship. I've never seen it done with like just like friendship, like not like romantic or anything, just like straight up like Anne, Sasha, and Marcy are friends. And of course, you can interpret it, different ways. Not like trying to dispute that, but I'm saying that like I love that friendship is taken like just as seriously as like Sasha and Anne's relationship is like Andres and Nicora's like whole dynamic is like an obvious foil to like Anne's relationship with Sasha and Marcy, right? And like that's like a familial bond Andreas has with like Aldrich and the core and stuff. But like that's like just as serious as Anne's relationship with Sasha. Like that's just as important to the character. Like they're never taken as like less seriously or more seriously. The friendship is like a big deal. Like so I don't know. I always appreciate Amphibia for doing that. Like for taking it like friendship as like just as important as like these familial or romantic connections. I think that was always awesome. And I think Sasha and Anne's like whole or like not even Sasha and Anne. Sasha, Anne, and Marcy's whole conflict is just a great way of doing that.
All right, thank you, Impact. Yeah, that kind of wraps up today's recording, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And next time we'll be discussing Marcy. But until then, say goodbye, Impact.
Peace, everybody.
Bye, guys. See you next time.